What's up guys, Sekapoko here, bringing you another One Piece Treasure Case video. For this we're going over the new Legend Sanji as well as his entire batch and going over all my thoughts and feelings upon them and exactly how they kind of work. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first character we're going to be going over is going to be Legend Sanji. And Legend Sanji, when there are 6 characters on the crew, boost the chain multiplier by 4 times and the attack of fighter characters by 1.75. It's also going to decrease the appearance rate of matching orders depending on how low the HP is. So it's kind of like 6 plus Shanks meets Rayleigh with a little bit of flavor. Yay! So they gave him. So I really don't know how much I like this unit initially, but there are some major damage boosts that we get with this unit, and I'll go over those a little bit. I don't want to give a whole giant ass explanation on the new Sanji, but to give you an idea, version 1 Rayleigh is the same captain ability at a 4 times chain multiplier boost, except without the 1.75 boost. Now, if you took 2 Legend Sanjis and put them together, a 1.75 times boost times a 1.75 boost is a 3.0625 boost. And Game With made a whole thing on this and decided how much damage this character is going to do. The way the damage works is kind of weird. Now, if you wanted to compare how much damage Rayleigh does to a multiplier captain, Rayleigh does somewhere between a 2.5 times captain and a 2.75 times captain, really depending on the team, how you're using the team, other multipliers that you use with that team, etc. So, Sanji, being very similar to that, just multiplying the entire damage that you would do by 3 times. If you multiplied a 2.5 times multiplier by 3, it would basically come out to be a 4.33 times multiplier, and a 2.75, it would come out to be a 4.77, I think. So, I think people are saying that the average captain ability damage is about 4.5 times multiplier, which seems fair. I mean, I get that. Decrease the appearance of rate of matching orbs depending on how low the HP is kind of a weird captain ability. It doesn't increase the rate of matching orbs, but it just decreases them. So I guess there is a drawback to using this character, and if you get lower HP, it's obviously worse as far as the captain goes. The other thing with this captain ability is you can't use any kind of chain lock because that completely defeats the purpose of having your captain ability. So you have to use a chain boosting mechanic. And the thing with chain boosting mechanics is they're nowhere near as strong as chain locking mechanics. So I really don't know how chain boosting mechanics work with V1 Rayleigh. I've never actually tried it, so I mean, it's been a while since I considered that. But the way that chain boosting works is it adds a chain boost and then the multiplier comes in afterward. But the thing is, with the multiplier is always like 0.3. So this was like 1.2 times 1.2. Is that it? I really don't know how that's gonna work as far as with this. So it's kind of a confusing deal. So I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. To my knowledge, if you were to add a chain boost onto something, it would be 0.3. which is what the chain boost normally goes up by. And then you take that 0.3 times multiplier and multiply it times 4 times 4, which is 16. So that comes out to about like 4.8, but then you have to add in the additional stuff. So that's kind of weird. So it comes out to like 5.8 or something. So it comes out to like 5.8. So it's like 4.8 times plus 1 time. So it's 5.8, and then you multiply it. Then you add 4.8 every single time. With the chain boost, you would just add like if you had a 0.7 times chain boost, it'd be like 1.7. And then you add the 4.8, so it doesn't really increase the chain multiplier more further. So chain boosting does like almost nothing to this. So my overall thought is that what happens with this unit is that he's a really high damage multiplier, but he completely removes the ability to use chain boosting mechanics and chain locking mechanics on your team. So the damage is not as OP as you think. It's just basically an innate chain booster inside of your team. And that if you consider the damage like that, it's actually not as OP as you would think, which is fine. Like initially, I think it's 4.33 going to 4.77 is a lot, but the fact that you can't use a chain boost or a chain lock with this captain in order to get extra damage is kind of weird. You can use a chain booster, but the chain booster adds so little damage that it's really not going to improve your damage a ton. I think you would increase your damage by less than 5% or something like that, maybe 10%, I don't know. But the amount of damage increase that you would get from a chain boost is negligible, so there's no reason to even use it. So let's go over the special ability for Sanji. Sanji is going to do 150 times character's attack and side damage. Can anybody say big mom teams? So that comes out to about, his damage will come out to about 292,000, which times 9 on big mom teams would be 2.6 million. With type advantage, that would come out to be 5.33 million. So Sanji as a sub on big mom teams does a fuckload of damage, and I think he has the highest multiplier damage for a single target in the game. Well, obviously you can do more with like the characters that remove orbs, like what's his name? He-Man dude, I can't remember his name, and then Moria. But he's also going to, if your HP is above a certain level, boost the attack of fighters by 2.25, and then when he's a captain or friend captain, recover 10 turns of chain lock and chain reduction, which you kind of need on this unit. 100%. Holy shit, that sucks. If you got chain locked or chain reduction, oh my god, that would suck. That would suck so hard. So if you have like a 99 turn chain reduction, that completely nullifies this character. You have a 99 turn chain lock, completely nullifies this character. So I don't think this character is OP. The reason I don't think this character is OP is because even though he has these remove chain lock and chain reduction mechanics, those two mechanics right there completely nullify his captain ability. So if you can't remove it because you need to save the Sanji Special, or you can't use the Sanji Special right away, that right there is a huge oh shit, I can't get around that. And there's a lot of content recently where there's 99 turns of chain coefficient reduction. And there's a little bit of content with chain lock as well as chain limits. So there are ways around it, and if you had like a 99 turn chain lock going into a room, what you can do is pop a previous chain lock before you go into that room, making it so that you would do less damage on the turn before, but then when you go into the room, you would just be able to nullify the chain lock. So that's a great way of getting around that mechanic. But overall, that part right there is what nullifies his captain. And you know what? Overall, I really like this character. I like that he has built-in weaknesses. I like that he is super strong in one way, and then he actually gets nerfed in a lot of other ways. So a lot of people will think that he's way too OP and Bandai's breaking the game by putting in this kind of multiplier into the game. And to be honest, this is actually a really solidly built character. There's innate weaknesses built into his kit, just using an older mechanic, which is actually pretty cool. And the fact that they're making it so that he gets rid of chain lock reduction as chain reduction, his scaling is really good. But like about 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, this character will be completely obsolete, and he would never even be used if the captain multiplier ever hits 5 times and you get other things. So like if captain abilities ever hit 4.5, and we start seeing lots and lots of characters have 4.5 times multipliers, this character is completely nullified because he can't use a chain lock or chain reduction, and will lose out on that kind of damage. And the next character I'm going to go over is going to be the new Pudding. The new Pudding is going to change all orbs into the same orb itself, recover 5,000 HP for 1 turn, and reduce incoming damage by 80%. She's also going to return 4 turns of increased damage debuff and paralysis while bind in despair. What the fuck? That's a lot. 4 turns of increased damage debuff, 4 turns of paralysis, 4 turns of bind, 4 turns of despair. With a Kinemon type mechanic, for an orb, recover 5,000 HP, reduce damage taken. This is like Kinemon meets Reiju. That's kind of cool, man. Kinemon meets Reiju, except there's no silence removal. If there was silence removal, that would be bitchin'. Other thing about this Pudding is she has 2 sailor abilities, the first of which on her limit break is going to reduce 5 turns of paralysis on herself, and the second is that you're able to retain a quick orb if you hit a perfect, which is pretty cool. The next unit we're going to go over is going to be Baron Tamago, who's going to be a fighter and free spirit character. His special ability is going to do 75 times attack in dex damage to 1 enemy that will ignore damage negating abilities and barriers. Why is that ever a good idea for 1 enemy? I just don't like that. But you know what I do like, that is dex and he does damage. That part's nice. Unfortunately, his attack is kind of low, so that kind of sucks. When the captain is a fighter character, change all orbs, including block orbs, into matching for fighter characters. So he's just an orb manipulator? Okay. Well, that was easy. He has 2 sailor abilities. If HP is above 50%, boosts the attack of fighters by 120. What the fuck? That's good. And the second is treat Dex Orb as beneficial for fighter characters. Damn, dude. His special ability is kind of shit, but I mean, full board orb manipulation is never bad, but that's all he really does. But the fact that he boosts fighters by 120? Damn. And then treat Dex Orbs as beneficial? Damn! That's sick. Next unit is going to be Int Pekoms. Int Pekoms is going to have special ability is going to cut HP of one enemy by 20%. That's going to ignore damage negating abilities and barriers, and then completely remove defense up from all enemies. He's going to have 13 turn cooldown and really high attack. And that's his, I don't know if that's his limit break stats. I think it's limit break stats. But his 2 sailor abilities. The first one is going to remove blindness, and the second one is going to be Int Orbs beneficial for fighter characters. So far, I'm not loving the batch. The unit of the new batch is going to be Strength Zeff, who's going to be a fighter and powerhouse unit. His special ability when the captain is a fighter character, boost the color affinity of fighters by 1.75 for 1 turn. If another unit uses a sailor ability, if another unit uses a special, reduce Zeff's own cooldown by 3 turns. What the fuck? Yes! Oh my god! That's so good. Boost own attack by 1.2 toward Dex enemies. What? Oh my god, this Zeff is so cool. The only thing I don't like about this Zeff is that this attack is 1272. That's fucking awful. Oh! Everything about this character was good until we got to his attack value. Oh! Feels bad, man. Guess that's what cotton candies are for. He's maxes out at 8 turns, though. Oh, man. And what's really funny about his captain ability that I'm not putting here is his boosts the attack of fighter characters by 2.5 and their HP by 1.2. So they basically just boosted the normal Zeff. So my thoughts on the batch as a whole, as well as Legend Sanji. Pekoms, Tamago, and Zeff can be used with Sanji, whereas Pudding can't, and Pudding is a completely outlier unit as a shooter. I'm not really sure why Pudding is just out there by herself as a shooter cerebral unit, but the nice thing about Pudding is she can be used on other teams like Katakuri teams, etc. And that part is kind of nice. Being able to use a character like this on a Katakuri team would be pretty cool. The fact that you can change all orbs into one set of orbs, reduce the incoming damage, as well as increase damage debuff, paralysis, bind, and despair. All of that on one unit is because I think before one of the few units you could use was the Valentine Koala to remove Bind and Despair. And this is actually just another unit that you can use to remove Bind and Despair, which I like a lot. Even though it is only 4 turns, 4 turns is actually more than enough for 95% of content, which is great. As well as the increased damage debuff. That part is kind of new. If you were using this character on a Katakuri team, I don't really know. Pekoms, I don't really find it as a super useful unit, even though he removes completely defense up. It's really useful to remove defense up when the boss is immune or immune to defense down, and you need to go through defense up. That part is nice. I can definitely see this character being useful because the combination of immunity plus defense up is really fucking annoying, and there's no way to get around it unless you bring a character that's like Pekoms. So I think he's a very, very useful unit, and because that combination together is super fucking annoying. However, that's all he does though, besides a 20% HP cut. Zeff, full board or manipulate, I guess is, Zeff for color affinity is really good. The fact that his attack is kind of low is kind of shitty, but what can you do? And then the only other unit I saw that was super useful was Baron Tamago. And this unit kind of one-ups Jinbei a little bit. Because on Jinbei, you can get rid of percent damage reduction as well as increased defense duration, but you can't get rid of block orbs. So I guess you could run Jinbei as well as Tamago on your teams, and you'll be able to get rid of those things on one fight and then Tamago on the other fight. So it allows you to just kind of hybrid up your team so you have 2 different orb manipulators on your team, but then you're kind of stuck with 2 characters that are set on doing orb manipulation rather than increasing damage and orb manipulation, which is kind of weird. Tamago really doesn't provide anything besides being full board mop, block, manipulate, as well as fighter matching. Not the biggest fan, to be honest. Not really the biggest fan there. The Sailor ability, I really like bringing that to the team. These are two amazing Sailor abilities, which you could just use just because that's amazing by itself. As a legend, also really, really fun to use, really lots of damage. And this whole batch is really cool, but they kind of don't, they work together for specific content. It looks like you have type boost and color affinity specifically. So what I'm seeing in the next treasure mode, the final boss is going to have some kind of orb boost interrupt just by looking at this team. If this was the team you're supposed to use, so like 2 out of the 4 of these teams. Oh, sorry, you're supposed to use Sanji as well as Zeff and Pekoms. What I'm seeing is that there's going to be some kind of orb boost interrupt, or there's going to be the last unit that you're going to have here is a treasure mode unit that does some kind of orb boosting mechanic. Either way, we'll just have to wait and see. Hey guys, my name's Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you smack the like button down below, as well as the subscribe button down below, so we get lots of support in the channel, and of course, keep the channel growing. If you guys do want to get notifications on all my videos, make sure you hit the bell notification right next to it, so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Peace.